Greetings, grade 9. Today we move over to the 6th lesson in economics. Our topic is called the central or the basic problems of an economy. So far you have understood that an economy makes the material requirements of day-to-day life. The basic or the most important purpose of an economy is to fulfill the daily requirements of our day-to-day lives, like food, clothing, and any other material requirement. However, when an economy tries to complete or fulfill its purpose, it faces one very important problem. And that problem is that an economy, any economy, whether it is a very advanced economy like the United States or Germany, or a very undeveloped economy like the African economies or any other Latin American economies, they will come to know that the resources that they have, which means the raw materials or the basic requirements that are required to make the goods and services, are limited. That there is only a certain amount of raw materials, and the wants, the amount of requirements, the demand is infinite, that the demands never decrease. It keeps on increasing again and again, year after year, after every generation. The amount of demand and requirements keeps on increasing, and this is known as an economic problem. Therefore, an economic problem, which is sometimes called the basic or the central economic problem, tells us that an economy's finite resources are insufficient to satisfy all the human wants and needs. Please have a look at the diagram given in my slide. It tells you how wants will always try to overcome the resources. The amount of wants that are there is so much that the resources we have will never be able to fulfill all the wants that humans put in towards an economy. Now let us look at an illustration of this problem. My first example would be that if you would try to imagine that there are 20 students who have come to attend the economics class, and that we have only 10 desks and chairs in the class. How will we solve the problem? If on any day your teacher tells you that our class has 20 students, but we have only 10 desks and chairs, and all over the year it is going to happen like this. So we will have to make a system so that our classes can continue. So there are different solutions. One of the solutions that you might tell me is that only the students with the highest marks will sit down and the students with the lowest marks will stand up. Or you might even say that we'll take turns, that one day these many students will sit down, the other day the other group of students will stand up. And the number of solutions that can come up is infinite. But whatever it is, the problem will always be there, and it is up to the class and the class teacher to solve that problem so that the economics classes can carry on day after day in spite of the limited amount of resources. Let us look at another example. Let us imagine that the catering department of our school takes a feedback from the students as to what they want to eat in their meals. Once the students give the feedback, how do the catering department fulfill the expectations of all the students? If Mr. Matthews and Richard Sir takes over a feedback from all the students and they find out what the students want to have in the school menu for breakfast, dinner, lunch, and if all the students give in their feedback, how would the catering department see that the needs of all the students are met? For example, some student might have said that I would like to have hamburgers for breakfast, French fries for dinner, sandwiches at this point of time, hot dogs, pizzas, and the list can be infinite. And if our school would want to make everyone happy, what system could be followed? And the answers are many. However, you have to keep in mind that the kitchen has only a limited amount of resources. Every month we only buy a certain amount of provisions for that month. So there is only a certain amount of wheat, certain amount of sugar, certain amount of milk that we can have. And using that certain amount of provision, we cannot fulfill all the requirements and all the needs of the students. So therefore, a solution is required. And in order to solve that, some solutions could be that maybe this month the class 12 could be allowed to make the menu. The next month, class 11s could be allowed to make the menu, and then the responsibilities could be divided up. Or maybe the menu is put forward in front of a committee, and the committee chooses which food should be given, and then that particular food is in fact given over to the students. And the solutions could be infinite, but the bottom line is that the resources, what is brought over in the kitchen every month, is of a limited quantity. The resources are limited, but the wants are unlimited. And in order to make everyone happy, there must be some system by which we should be able to know which of these wants are more important than the other want. And there should be another system to know that which particular want can be fulfilled and which want should not be fulfilled. And solving that problem is known as the problem of solving the problem of an economic choice. So we would like to ask, then why does an economic problem exist? The answer is, an economic problem exists because human wants are unlimited, but the resources to satisfy these human wants are limited. And also because we know that the resources that are available to us, they can be used in different ways. There are alternative ways to use the resources. The same wheat that is there in the kitchen can be used to make a pizza or a bread, or it can be used to make a simple chapati. So the choice has to be made, but the wants are unlimited. Some people might want to have a pizza in the kitchen, some people might want to have bread, and some people something else. So how do we rank which want is more important than which want? And that is what we mean by an economic problem. So therefore, to summarize, there is an infinite series of human wants that remain to continue with human life. Nobody can claim that all his wants has been satisfied and that he has no more need to satisfy any further want. This is known as a human condition. Secondly, everybody feels hunger at a time, and then sometimes you need water. Sometimes when one feels the desire of clothing, then again the desire of having a conveyance comes over. So the wants keeps on coming up again and again. They are never satisfied. When all the existing wants are satisfied, the new wants starts to create in the mind, so that the series of wants continue until the very last moment of life. So an economic problem arises because of the existence of unlimited wants and limited resources. So how are the economic problems expressed in the economy? How do we know that there is an economic problem in an economy? Imagine that you are in charge of an economic system, that you have to see that all the material requirements of day-to-day life are being produced and they are being sent over to the people who require it. And when you are doing your job, how do you know that there is a problem? And in order to let the economy run properly, you have to address this problem. So how do you know that? You know there is a problem because every time you have to solve three important questions. Number one is you have to decide on what you have to produce. You have to decide to know which product is more important than the other product. At this present moment of time, is producing medicine more important than producing food? Or is producing food more important than producing a conveyance or transportation facilities? Or producing transportation facilities is more important than making sure that the supply of water is continuous? The second question that comes in is how to produce. So if you've decided, oh yes, medicines are more important than food, then you might want to know, how shall I produce my medicine? Will I produce it in the factories, or will I involve a lot of people and allow people to work in their homes and start producing the medicines that we require? The third question that comes in is, after you've produced everything, is how or where or for whom do you produce? That means, where would you like the medicines to be sent? Who should be given the medicines first? Should it be given to people in order of their ability to buy? The people who can afford should be given first, or the people who can not afford should be given later? Or should we give it to the people who are old and elderly? Should we give it according to age? Or should we give it according to the requirement? That means if someone is very sick, then we give the medicine. If someone is not sick, then we don't give the medicine. So there are infinite ways in which we can answer this question. So now we will look at each of these economic problems one by one.